Candyman. 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 What's going on, everybody? This is BroncoJuggalo, and today we are discussing 1992's Candyman. So guys, it is once again Slashback Saturday, and it is time for another Slashback Saturday review, brought to you by Joe, the Horror Man. Check out his channel if you haven't already. Today's theme is supernatural slashers, and as I said, we are discussing Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose, and starring Tony Todd as the title character Candyman, and Virginia Madsen as Helen. A grad student from the University of Chicago is writing a thesis on the impact of urban legends, and she specifically targets and investigates the urban legend of the Candyman and its impact that it has on the residents of a housing project called Cabrini Green. During her investigation, she wakens Candyman, who goes on another spree. He starts killing people around Helen, and they think that Helen is the one doing it. A lot of things happen. A baby disappears. And so ensues one of, in my opinion, the best horror films of the last 3 decades. Now, this was based on the Clive Barker story, The Forbidden, which actually takes place in Liverpool, England. But the producers of the film thought that it would be better set in America in a low-income housing project. And they did put a bit of social relevance in this film, as it conveys to racism and poverty and how minorities living in poverty deal with it. Something a lot of people don't know is that the original choice for the Candyman was actually Eddie Murphy. And man, I just cannot see Eddie Murphy in this role. I'm trying to picture it now and it just doesn't work. I am so glad that they went with Tony Todd. Guys, I have no cons for this film. I love this movie. It is such a great film. My first pro is the setting. I love the backdrop of the housing project. I love how stark it looks and how atmospheric it is. It brings a great atmosphere to this movie. It really truly reminds you of a prison building. The walls are bare. They're just cement. They've been spray painted on. There's, most of the people in these projects are not living well. They are very rundown places. It's a very bleak and depressing and brutal sort of environment that is controlled by gangs, which is based on real life. It's controlled by fear. It's controlled by oppression. And all of that lends a great serious tone to this movie. And not just a great serious tone, but a great dark and foreboding and evil feeling atmosphere. As I said, there is quite a bit of social relevance in this movie. When it comes to social issues being addressed in horror movies, and like a lot of my favorite movies, comic book films, sometimes I don't like it very much because the people try to basically shame other people, if you know what I mean. This movie does not do that. It brings up the plight of the people in this circumstance. It brings up the plight of underprivileged African Americans. And it shows how basically our country and the world has treated them. And it's not a good thing. It really is not. But it doesn't sit there and blame everybody around them. It just is trying to make you aware of it and saying, this is wrong. This is something that should be fixed. And it should be. They weren't trying to point out that all white people were evil, like so many films try to do these days. Or that all black people are oppressed. Or that, they just had a good social relevance, that had good social commentary, that addressed issues that needed to be addressed. And they did so in a way that made you stop and think about it and made you want to fix the problem. Other movies like The First Purge ram it down your throat to no end. And while I enjoyed the movie, it got a little tiresome. You know what I mean? This movie doesn't do that. It just truly makes you aware of the plight of people in the world that a lot of people don't care about and don't see, and it's wrong and it needs to be addressed. I love the blood and I love the gore in this movie. It's very good. It's done so well. It looks really good. There's a scene where there's a severed head from a dog that looks amazing. There's another scene where a boy is in the bathroom and he had his thing pulled off, and that looks just bloody and disgusting. The Candyman himself, when he pulls open his coat and he reveals that his, insides are out, and it's so gross, and it looks so good. And definitely the stuff to give you nightmares. They did a good job with the CGI bees, and also with the real bees. They did use some real bees in this, which a lot of people are like, damn, how did they not get stung so much? Well, they did a couple times. But they did some CGI bees, and that looked pretty good. They did practical effects that looked really good. A lot of the kills, some of the kills were kind of cutaway because it was based on like a supernatural element. And I didn't mind it in this movie because it really added to the suspense. It really added to the terror. It really left it up to your imagination. But then you see the after effects and you're like, holy shit. My biggest pro for this movie is Tony Todd. I'm a huge Tony Todd fan, and I just love the presence he brings to the Candyman. There is no reason why the Candyman should not be in the upper echelon of horror. Right there along with Michael and Freddy and Jason. The Candyman and Tony Todd is just so amazing. To me, it's iconic. To some people, maybe not, but to me, it's iconic. And I love Tony Todd's portrayal. I love his monologues, and he speaks quite a bit in this movie. And his voice is just so haunting. And just everything he's saying, just the way he puts his voice into words, it's just so good and so amazing. He has such a presence in this film. Whenever he is on the screen, you feel his humongous presence. It makes you feel small and it makes you feel weak. And it really does put you into not fear for like me, I've seen this a million times, but like for your average viewer, it really is a scary, scary thing. I also love how he puts this seductive quality into his voice and into his performance. There are times where you do just want to fall under his spell. You could see why she is becoming the way she is. You can see how she becomes lethargic and she becomes tired. And it's almost like the old school Dracula when he would hypnotize people. And that's the way it felt in this film. And it just came across so amazing. It's so good. This is such a great movie. When this movie came out, it split the critics. Some of them said it was good, some of them said it was bad. One critic called it the worst Clive Barker interpretation he had ever seen. I think the guy's nuts. This is a great, great interpretation of a Clive Barker story. In fact, it's my favorite. It beats out Hellraiser. It beats out Book of Blood. This is my favorite Clive Barker story turned into a movie. I love that we get backstory on the Candyman. I love that it fleshes out his character. We don't know his name yet. We just know him as the Candyman. But it really does flesh out his character, and I really enjoy that. This movie did spawn a couple sequels, which I will be reviewing sooner or later. Within the next few weeks, probably. And we'll get into those. They're not near as good as the original, if you know what I mean. But they have their own merits, at least somewhat. Anyways, guys, that's it for this week's Slashback Saturday. I can't wait for next week. I've got a lot of good stuff coming to you in the meantime. And this is BroncoJuggalo saying peace.
I'm on a mission and this shit'll never stop. I'm a forever rock, put that on everything. I'ma keep grinding till my family's better off. My team ain't never soft, stacking this federal. Haters is several, spilling blood, let it flow out. Tell your homie this wolf and he better slow down. All my dogs begging me, let him roll out. I'm a manifest.